Peter.
I am here. Thank you. Hello, Charlotte. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
There's another living room in this case, south of Munich. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome, Peter. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for Mastercard for joining us at the Project A Knowledge Conference.
Thank you. It's our pleasure. It's our first time we do that, actually, because we have seen the enormous conference you set up, the participants, all the conferences in the past. Of course, it would be our pleasure to do that face-to-face today in Berlin with everybody who is now there or sits in front of his or her PCs, next year maybe.
Absolutely.
It's
for
great.
Everybody that doesn't know you, maybe can you just introduce yourself to the audience? Who are you?
Yeah, sure. My two sons still think I sell credit cards at the airport. That's not true. I'm taking care of the business of Mastercard in Germany and Switzerland. Hansi would say I'm a dinosaur because I joined 14 years ago when the world of payment was a very different one, when the world as such was a very different one. And, now 14 years later, I do what I do. I came here because I found very interesting when I met Florian the last years, what he has achieved, right? And what the startup scene in Germany has achieved. And there's lots of things Mastercard is doing in this respect globally around the world since 10 years. And yeah, I'm happy to talk about it with you and with hopefully many, many other people in the next 20 minutes and later in the afternoon.
Sure. So you've been with Mastercard, if I've done my research right, for 14 years already. What is making you stick around?
Oh, it's a fantastic industry, right? So 14 years ago, it wasn't as fantastic. There were many older people, many bankers around payment. And nowadays, it's actually very trendy and hip, right? In the startup scene, you have the idea everybody wants to found a neobank, a Fintech, a wallet company, a loyalty company, and so on. And when you see how Mastercard has developed, when I started, it was 4,000 people. Now it's 20,000 people. We grew through acquisition, we grew organically, and we grew with all the new territories we do our business in. And one big thing is actually since 10 years to collaborate with startups around the world. Many people know us because they have a card in their pocket, hopefully, and the network we run. And to give you an idea about the size, it's a network with, I think, 50 million merchants connected, 30,000 institutions. 14 years ago, these were mainly banks. Today, there are lots of tech companies, lots of mobile phone companies, and hundreds of thousands of startups. At the end, there are 2.5 billion people carrying whatever kind of Mastercard product that has these two interlocking circles on it. And in times of digitalization, in times of networks, there are many startups that want to use this. And, beside the idea to run a payment networks, we have many, many other corporate objectives where we use startups to win the fight in a more digital-centric world, to build new solutions for people around the world. And maybe there's one particular thing I would like to mention is we call that inclusion, okay? So one of the key things that technology is doing for us, and startups play a key role in that, is to bring new people to the system, okay? So there are still, depends on whom you trust, like 2.5 billion people out there that don't have access to what the digital lifestyle can offer. And I don't talk about payments here. I talk about finance, about health systems, about government systems, and so on and so on. And what technology, and in particular startups around the world, have done is that they brought in 500 million people in the last 5 years to this system that can benefit from it in their personal life, in their own businesses, in their small businesses. And this is mainly based on technology, mobile phones, etc., etc. And, we expect that another 1 billion people will join the system, but much quicker than what we have seen now. So 10 years ago, I think we run one of the largest startup platforms in the world. I will talk about that later with Florian. It's called StartPath, because there's a mutual interest, right? From startups to leveraging our connections, and from our institution to leverage startups. And this is what we do. I think we screened 10,000 startups since the inceptions around the world. We ran 200 of them through this particular program. We are invested in over 100. There are prominent alumni like Revolut who have done that. We ourselves, as a company, invested 90 million euros in startups over the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So there are many, many things where we work together and many, many things where we can benefit from.
Awesome. That is super exciting to hear. And actually, one thing that I didn't know about Mastercard, how closely collaborating or how close the collaboration between Mastercard and the startup world is. You mentioned in a talk 2 years ago at the NOAA conference in Berlin that you're running different labs around the world where you develop products and solutions together with your partners. What does that look like today? What has changed over the last 2 years?
No, it looks the same. Let me talk quickly about it, then I'll give you a nice example. So it's actually 12. So we run 12 labs around the world. What that means is these are centers where we put our developers and our user experience experts and product experts, all of these things together. Another term would be there are our research and development facilities. So all 12 of them are there to develop and design solutions for the people connected to the Mastercard network. There's one exception, that's the one in Nigeria, in Kenya, that what we run together with the Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation. Mm-hmm. Okay. Also nice to know Mastercard is the second largest foundation in the world. So after Bill and Melinda Gates, and this particular center is just there to allow financial inclusion projects for example, farmers in Africa. So the European hub is in Dublin, in Ireland. And so we run approximately 1,500 people there. And these people are there to help our partners to develop whatever kind of solution they need. And I'll give you a good example from the one in Nigeria. So we had a startup coming to us in one of these Start Path events, and that were young guys from Nigeria. And what they actually developed is a system to allow micro farmers to get access to modern farming equipment. Because there's a very big difference in your output if you're a micro farmer in Africa, if you plow your field with a donkey or you do it with a modern kind of tractor, okay? So the problem there was the guys had great ideas and they wanted to conquer the world and make the world a better place for micro farmers in Africa. So they came to us, we combined it with a local agricultural bank, we designed the platform that the farmer with the mobile phone or even with a feature phone, for those that have one, could get access, what's the next tractor available. On the other hand, the guy who rents out $1 million tractor wants to have just some information about the people who rent it because they are afraid they just drive away with it, right? Uh-huh. So we gave access to personal information, to an identity, and also to financial history to make sure the guy who rents the equipment is legit and all of these kind of things. So on top of that, they connected it to information from the agricultural ministry about prices, right? Because if you harvest your crop and whatever it is, you want to know what a fair market price is and all of these things. So this is one of the ideas the labs are doing. There are many, many others that are mostly closer to our westernized ideas of startups and financial services. But it is the key point here is it is much bigger than just financial service or payments. We do this as well, but the overall organization is a much broader setup.
So when you're looking into doing investments, what are some of the criteria that you look at? What's important for you there as Mastercard?
The answer is it depends. Okay. So we do two things. Number one, we connect startups to get scale. Okay. So if you are a startup in the, let's say, financial service industry or fraud or cybersecurity, AI, whatever you're up to, you can easily connect with these 30,000 institutions and 50,000 merchants connected by us. And we give them access to basic technology. Tokenization servers, digital IDs, QR codes, whatever. The other thing we do is we invest in some of them where we think we have a particular interest as network to enhance our network with the capability of this startup. So we don't do it for financial reasons, okay? We don't want an exit and have a better evaluation, but we want to use the services in our network. An example, you might have heard, a Swedish-based company, Doconomy. We invested recently in them. So what they do is they, as we think, provide a very clever solution about carbon footprints and that you as a consumer can actually learn more about how you spend money and what does that mean for the eco footprint you're leaving on this world. How can you counterbalance that, etc., etc. They do that with an index provided in Sweden. And this is the functionality people just love. And when I say people, I mean end consumers, I mean our customers, because it's one of the big tests of our generations. And we invested in them. And maybe, if possible, this is crystal ball reading, clearly, we would like to bring this functionality in our network. Yeah? And then the startup itself can have our network, our access to our customers, and finally, if possible, into our network to 2.6 billion consumers.
So maybe referring back to the talk that you gave 2 years ago, one of the things that you mentioned is that consumers back then, what was important for them, not so much like the rewards and the points, but the security. Would you say that nowadays that has changed, and what is now important for people is the sustainability aspect that you just mentioned as well?
Oh, it comes on top of it, right? We always say transactions must be simple, smart, secure. Simple is the easiest one. If you have a product that helps our brand, it should work everywhere. Doesn't matter where you are, online, offline, in whatever parts of the world. And the second one, smart and secure. So smart could be the eco-footprint component of it, what came over the last years, but definitely secure is one of the key aspects. I mean, go out there, take a look about data incidents, data leaks, all of that. It's one of the key challenges for the next decade. And the problem comes with the exponential growth of information, correct? I mean, unfortunately, we learn nowadays with COVID what exponential growth can mean. It's the same for technology. I mean, in the past, if you run a network like ours, there was a new person on the world, the person got a credit card, and it was a linear growth, correct? So that was manageable. Nowadays, you have your iPhone, and with every app you have on it, it's machine-to-machine communication, right? We run more API calls, of course, than payment transactions in the meantime. And so when you use your phone, all the communication that goes off in the background with APIs requesting information, it's a very difficult topic when it comes to payment and banking, okay, where people access your personal information, where people actually access your bank account. So you want to make sure as an organization that you know in real time what is happening with all this information, and that you're also capable of reacting in real time if you see something is happening what you don't want to happen. Okay, and in my world with open banking, open interfaces, APIs, this is a problem that unfortunately will become bigger and bigger. And yes, the security is one of the key components for consumers and, of course, for everybody who is in this payment banking value chain.
Okay. So for everybody that just joined as well, we're talking to Peter, Executive Vice President, Germany, Switzerland from Mastercard. Maybe going a little bit more into what your work looks like on a daily basis. Can you run us through like a typical day, either during COVID or pre-COVID?
Yeah, there's a big change, I think, but this is a common truth for everyone, right? So we are sitting at home since the 8th of March, okay, approximately. There are good things and bad things in it. I guess we have to make, there's an opportunity in every crisis, okay. The 15 years before, I was one of those guys who was sitting twice a week in an airplane. Now I'm at home. Mm-hmm. There's a beautiful component in it. After a couple of months in it, one of my sons, 4 years old, came to me and said, COVID is great. And I said, why? And he said, because you can read me a bedtime story every evening. So these are definitely the good things. The bad things, I guess, are that some of the stuff you do in business is losing speed, right? I mean, you can maintain lots of your business and lots of your relationship with things like video conferencing, telephone conferencing. But I guess to really drive and push innovation forward, it's just getting a little bit slower. I hope, and I think nobody knows how the new normal will look like and where that will end. I hope just some things will not come back, like flying to stupid meetings for 2 hours, these kind of things, because society has learned that can we achieve these things in a different way. Nevertheless, as human beings, as fathers, from a cultural side, all of that, we miss these things. Home office was never a problem for us. I do home office within Mastercard since the first day, so 14 years ago, correct? Because it's normal in our business. It is a virtual, very, very virtual business. We run a central network somewhere in the US, and the rest are satellites offices. So, and I hope that we will learn from that we will scratch out some useless stuff.
Yeah. With everything that you have on your plate at the moment, what's maybe one thing that's giving you a stomach ache and one thing that you're getting really excited about?
In my business, so especially in Germany, 3 years ago, a colleague of mine showed me a very nice test, and you can try that at home. If it still works, I don't know. But if you type into Google's Germans love, Deutsche lieben, the first answer you get is cash bargeld.
Goodness, yeah.
Okay? Even before Italian, Bratwurst, Sauerkraut, and all of these things. Unfortunately, with the trigger of COVID, we have even seen that the Germans go away from cash. They digitalize, they spend behavior, and there's lots of opportunity in it. And I think it will stay that way. Okay. The headache that's giving me those days is, personally, I don't know if my kids have a school tomorrow because of COVID and all of that, and then we are babysitters, homeschoolers, and all of that together. Business-wise, I'm not sure how long it will take to get this shock out of the system again, right? To have everybody back on track and deliver innovation for a digital-centric community we live in at the same pace that it was before.
Mm-hmm. Can you elaborate how many people are you leading in Germany and Switzerland within your function?
Oh, Germany and Switzerland for Mastercard is small from a people perspective. There's only 130 people, right?
What's important for you there? How do you lead your team? Along what values do you lead your teams?
I guess the most important thing for Mastercard is you have to try your things. Failure is absolutely okay. I mean, this industry we work in had many failures. And when you go to a typical payments conference, there's always this one guy who shows you the chart of all the wallets and all the ideas that failed. And you know, if you work for Mastercard and you expect to come here and to have a plan, and somebody tells you after X months this is how far you are, then that's the wrong team you work in, right? Mastercard is definitely a company where you come, you get a task, and do it yourself. You know, if you fail, it's okay, but if you don't try, that's the issue, right? And change the pace of change in this industry. If you take a look how you bank today, how you pay today, how you use your data today, this is so different since the last 5 years, 10 years, and we tried so many things that failed, and it will go on like this. And this is the way it works in Mastercard, and most people that have this flexibility and agility are very happy with it.
Cool. Maybe on a personal note, what are some of the fintech startups where you yourself are a user?
Oh, I have an N26 account, definitely. I wouldn't call them startup anymore, right? If you have millions of customers, you're far away from that. And also, you know, fintech, it always has the connotation of 3 guys sitting in a garage and doing something, right? That's not true, as most of them became banks, real banks, and provide services to millions of people in in many countries. And they use technology in a different way. So, but I have plenty, right? I'm a payment geek, so I have to try them all. I have to use the wallets and to see where the real benefits is. And it's a great thing for consumers, for everybody.
Awesome. Regarding today in the Project A Knowledge Conference, are you going to be sticking around? Are you going to be joining people in Wonder to have a chat? I
will join people in Wonder, even if I miss the real life drink. Maybe I get me one a little later. I picked out some of the calls later and deep dive sessions that are there. And yeah, I look forward to it and wish everybody who is at home or in Berlin a great day and lots of fun.
Peter, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for Mastercard joining us at the Project A Knowledge Conference. Please pick Peter's brain with any questions that you have in Wonder. And also, you're welcome to stick around on the main stage.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.